Living the life.
Our next guest is Shereen Kassam, who's performed on stages from New York to Saigon, as well as on the US network HBO, and now she's on the biggest platform of all. Welcome to the Islam Channel. Shereen, salam alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Fantastic. Welcome to the show. Now listen, whereabouts are you? You're in the USA somewhere?
I am. I'm in Florida.
Florida.
Central.
And what's it like out there? What's the weather like? What's COVID like? What's going on?
Oh, the weather is amazing. The weather is nice. It's in the 90s Fahrenheit. COVID, on the other hand, not so good. but in good news, we're open. We're open. We're totally open. You can go anywhere you want. You don't have to wear a mask. It's
Really?
perfectly safe here. Wink.
Amazing.
Fantastic. That's great. I mean, that's not London. It's a total opposite here, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, I hope you caught the sarcasm. It is not safe here, but we're in phase 3.
Sorry, we forgot you're a comedian.
Yeah. But I think that's you're adding satire to the political situation and all the decisions that are being made in America and how they're being made as well, which
And
sometimes
are you selling
is the
lots
best
of
way to
bleach
swallow
out
it.
there?
Yes, we actually sold out of bleach. You will be surprised. The companies actually had to make announcements here not to buy bleach for ingestion.
Oh.
That's how bad it got here in America, is when the company itself had to make an announcement not to drink the bleach.
Fantastic. Well, listen, before we go on to your podcast and the item we're talking about tonight, tell us about when you started out. You were banned from a comedy club as a Muslim. Is that right?
I was, yes. A couple years ago, I was performing in Florida, in a city called Melbourne, Florida, and 12 people in the audience got upset when I said I was Muslim. Wow. And they stood up, and one of them said, "Get rid of her," and they walked out. And then they went on social media, and they continued making a mess out of the whole thing about me they were calling me a terrorist, and that I was being offensive on stage because I said I was Muslim. And it got so bad that the club owner decided to ban me because I was bringing so much negativity to his club.
Oh, my goodness. And was there anything that you said that, possibly could have been offensive?
No, honestly, anytime I just mention in Florida, if I'm on stage and I say I'm Muslim, people just get upset about it. It irks people that they came to like me, because I don't tell you right away. I won't come on stage and just be flaunting like I'm Muslim. I will make you love me first. You will adore me. You will want to take me home. You will want to take pictures with me, and not home like in a kidnapping sense, but like I'm your new best friend, right? And then 10, 15 minutes in, I will tell you I'm Muslim, and you will see a distinctness in the crowd between people who just have such a bad viewpoint of what Muslim means and Islam means, and they'll just shut you out, and that's it.
What a way to expose prejudice, man. That's such a litmus test for prejudice, is just go on stage, drop some comedy lines, and then drop the big one.
Also, I'm assuming, there must be, with every difficulty comes ease. It's a great form of dawah, because as you're standing there, you're a comedian, you're fantastic, and then they find out you're Muslim. And for some people, it must be like, oh, this is very refreshing. Muslims can actually be funny. Is that the kind of thing that happens as well?
Up north, like if I'm performing in Boston, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, yes. If I'm performing in Florida, it takes a very different audience to feel that way. But people are coming around. I'm not going to say that not all Floridians accept Muslims and Islam, but there's definitely a divide here because we're in the South.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I wonder what would happen if you walked on like Sadia with the hijab on as well.
I actually have a friend, Tisa Hami. She's a comedian. She used to wear the hijab. I've thought about doing that as an experiment, but I feel like doing it here in Florida may not be the best course of action for me, because we also have a rule here called stand your ground, which means if somebody feels threatened by you, they can shoot you. No questions asked. Like they can just shoot you, and I can just see it right now, like on Fox News, like woman walks up in hijab on stage, guy in audience gets scared, gunshots fired, and that would be it.
Yeah, and it'd be too late to ask, to argue your defense at that point. It'd be like,
Sadia, I didn't like those biscuits he made for me.
How horrible. That's actually quite a volatile playground that you're in there, but you're still going ahead with it. It's a bit like
London.
Yeah, you can't let people stop you. You can point out their ignorances, and you can hope that other people in the audience understand that they're being ignorant. And I'm not going to let them derail my dreams. I'm not going to let 12 people at a comedy show who don't like me because I all of a sudden said I was Muslim derail my dreams. That's just not going to happen.
So how have other comedians, so I'm sure you have like a network and a community, how have they taken to you?
We all get along really well. I mean, it's been great in the last few years. There's been an uptick of Muslim comedians, and we all like share our stories with each other and help each other. Kind of, how do you overcome these situations and how do you address this ignorance? Because it's actually one of the reasons I started my podcast, because I needed that mentorship from people who looked like me and who came from the same background. Like, how do you deal with this ignorance, and how do you keep growing when you're faced with so many obstacles and challenges?
I mean, I totally get it, because, you know, you've done stage fundraising and presenting, and similar to myself and some of the other presenters here, and yeah, we do sit and talk about these stories. Yeah. Well, look, before we go to the Creative Breakthrough podcast, you were doing radio before that, weren't you?
I was on the radio every night of the week.
And what was the show? What was it about?
The show was just 4 comedians here in Florida, and we got together every night and we did a radio show, and we just talked about funny things. It was sketches, it was skits. It was like SNL, but on the radio.
So at that time, you didn't have to tell people you were Muslim?
Oh no, they all knew. Everybody on the radio knew. It was not a well-kept secret. I mean,
no,
every
but I mean
time
the
I came on
listeners.
the radio, I was the Muslim girl.
So from the listeners' point of view, they were fine with it because you were just a voice through the airwaves, or was it that it never really came up? I don't know. Like, from a listener's point of view, how did they take to a Muslim comedian over the airwaves?
Oh no! In the beginning, they hated me. So when we were on the radio, we would have a chat board where people could live text in during the show.
Oh goodness!
And
Lord.
95% of the comments were about me, like just about being Muslim, about being anti-Trump, being a terrorist, just all these stereotypes without even knowing me. But what was really cool was that when we would do live events, they would come out and they would meet me, and then their whole viewpoint would change, because they would see me and they would actually get to know me and realize, okay, whatever they were thinking in their head is totally untrue. And so it was a long process, but it was breaking down barriers slowly, which I really loved doing while I was on the radio.
Which I think what life is about for Muslims. That, life is about that. It's about breaking down those barriers. Now look, so let's go to the podcast. I mean, you walked away from radio. How long were you on for the radio for?
About 3 years.
Wow, it's a long time. And then, did you leave because the podcast idea was there, or was it a natural kind of transition?
I left the radio because I was given an ultimatum. So when I got banned from the comedy club, as comedians on the radio, we used to use our status, per se, our personalities, our celebrity status, to go and do shows around town to get money, to make a lot of money. And they couldn't take me anymore to this club because I'd been banned. So they told me I could either apologize to the club owner and the 12 people who were offended by the fact that I was Muslim, and keep my spot on the radio, or I would need to leave the radio show. And so I decided I didn't want to apologize. I had nothing to apologize for, so I stepped away.
You stuck to your
Brilliant.
That's
Love
about
it.
maintaining your integrity as a person, as a human being, of course.
So the podcast.
No, I mean, it was a hard it wasn't that hard. It wasn't a hard decision to say I wasn't going to apologize, but it definitely was a hard decision to say, I can't believe I'm losing what I've built over the last 3 years because of this situation.
So then, was the podcast, you were kind of forced into a corner, and that's where it kind of came out?
Yeah, so I always had wanted to do my own podcast because I wanted to have my own voice and be able to really produce my own show and make it what I wanted it to be versus the audience telling me what they wanted it to be. And being let go from the radio was a great time because it allowed me to start reaching out to mentors that looked like me. And my podcast only highlights creatives of color. So it was all about how do I get people to mentor me and tell me, how do you work through these situations? How do you continue to be successful? Like, my parents don't know anyone in the entertainment space. How do I get to the top? How do I get to where these people are? And so that's why I really wanted to start the podcast, is to help the next generation of people of color. How do you make it? How do you survive in this space, in this industry?
And I'm assuming, I mean, COVID would have definitely helped, because nobody had anything to do but to listen to radio, to podcasts, and the platform was the right timing then, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. And I got some really great guests during COVID, like Ali Velshi from MSNBC. I'm not sure if you guys know him over there in the UK, but great correspondent from Al Jazeera is going to be on the show. Shereen Kassam, who's a Bollywood dancer, is on the show. So just really, it was a great time to even just tap into people's minds and into their thoughts of, like, how do you continue being creative during COVID, and how do you come out of COVID more successful than you were before COVID?
How many years has it been? Like 57 episodes. What is that? Once every week?
It used to be once every week. Then I had to put into place self-care routines. So now it's every other week. So we're going on to 2 years now.
Wow.
Wow,
And
that's
look,
fun.
I mean, obviously, when you were doing radio, when you were doing the comedy clubs, you know, you were making money, obviously, it's natural for... What about the podcast? How does that generate an income for you?
Yeah, sure. So the podcast generates an income in a couple of ways. One is speaking engagements, which have moved to Zoom calls, but speaking about creativity and how to pursue your passions and your goals and your dreams. And then I do coaching. So if you have a passion and you're
Okay.
not sure how to get started, so in acting or comedy or writing, I do coaching. And then I've got a couple sponsors. So sometimes I'll run commercials in my podcast for sponsors.
Fantastic.
Amazing,
Wow.
mashallah. And it's really, really interesting because I was looking at like how did you first, go into the world of comedy, and like looking back, you actually began in like Amazon and Deloitte and JP Morgan, all these big corporate companies. So I'm still thinking, which door did you open to help you get into comedy?
It's funny. I never wanted to be a comedian. I never even knew what stand-up comedy was. And I went to my first comedy show, and I was sitting there thinking, like, I should be on stage sharing with them what it's like to be a brown woman living in America, or even a Muslim woman living in America. And I went up to the guy after the show and I asked for my money back. I said, I want my $20 back because I didn't find this show funny. And just a caveat, I'm Gujarati, which is why I asked for my money back. And
The minute you mentioned money, I thought, you know what, there must be a Gujarati connection there.
yes.
Sorry, guys.
So he was like, he said to me, he goes, it's not that easy to make people laugh. Mm-hmm. And here I am. I'm not funny. I'm not a class clown. I'm very serious in my life. And I was like, I will take up that challenge. Like, how do I do this? How do I become a comedian? And that was it. That's how I started. And I'm so glad that I started because it's been an amazing journey.
Fantastic. Well, look,
Amazing.
I mean, Sadia's thinking about becoming a comedian. What tip would you give Sadia and other people who are watching right now, not just about comedy, but generally if they've got a dream, they've got a passion? Because I'll tell you something, 99.9% of parents, whether it's a boy or a Muslim girl, wanting to become a comedian, they'll get a slap across their face from their parents, guaranteed, right? So, how do you convince others around you and chase your dream?
You just got to go for it. You've got to say it's your life. I mean, it's a hard conversation, and trust me, my parents and I are still having it. I'm in my 30s. I'm financially stable. I live by myself, and yet we still go at it head to head every day. But you've got to live your dreams. You've got to go out there and do it. And with the internet these days, it's so easy to even just dabble in your dreams and see if that's really something you want to do. There's online courses, there's free webinars, there's meetup groups, and just start to get out there and see, like, is this really what you want to do, and experiment, and then go do it. And you can have everything in life. I have realized that. Like, I can do my professional career, and I can do stand up, and I can be successful in both of them.
Fantastic. Well, look, if you're looking for another guest, Sadia baked some fantastic cakes, by the way. We had the biscuits earlier on. Do you want to get on then? Maybe do a demonstration?
How do you put a comedy angle to baking?
Because it could be quite funny. No, it's not about being funny. It's about being, showing people some creativity. That's baking, right? And also that anybody can do it. You just showed us some pictures of your baklava you did. It's brilliant.
It's all just like when you're locked down and you're a bit anxious, you don't know what else to do, so you just get into the kitchen and start baking and stuff. That's all it is.
Fantastic.
I don't know whether I'm ready to hit the big screen yet.
There's a chance for you. Shereen, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us, and good luck on the rest of your podcast and the rest of your journey, mashallah. Allah bless you and keep you safe, inshallah.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. She must be watching Ertugrul, she said. Hey,
I actually genuinely have so much respect for people who have the integrity to say, look, this is who I am. You take me or you leave me. Like, don't make me try and compromise who I am. I think that was amazing.
Very true. Well, look,
Mashallah.
sadly, we're out of time.
We are, unfortunately. It's been a while. It's been a long minute, but it's been good to be back.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome back to the show. Indeed. Well, look, we'd like to thank all of our guests and, of course, you for watching at home. Until...
next time, inshallah, same time tomorrow. Same time, same place tomorrow, inshallah. Have a wonderful evening, inshallah. And do remember us in your du'as. Take care, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Living the